Good afternoon, and thank you for joining the Oregon Employment Department for today's media briefing. We're going to wait just another couple of minutes to allow everybody enough time to join. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. I'm Rebecca Gibson King. I'm the Communications Director for the Oregon Employment Department. Today's speakers are Gail Krumenauer, State Employment Economist, Lindsay Leahy, Unemployment Insurance Director, Agency Director David Gerstenfeld will also be on hand to answer questions after our opening remarks. A couple of quick notes. This webinar is being recorded and we will post the recording online and send out the link after the briefing to everybody who RSVP'd. We'll take questions after opening remarks. And if you have any technical difficulties or are otherwise unable to answer your question today, you can always email us at communications@employ.oregon.gov and we'll be happy to help you out. I will now turn it over to State Employment Economist Gail Krumenauer.
Thanks, Rebecca, and thanks everybody for joining us today. Yesterday, the Employment Department released the jobs numbers and unemployment rates for Oregon in January. Oregon employers dropped 4,900 jobs from non-farm payrolls, and the unemployment rate was 4.1%. Private healthcare and social assistance added 1,100 jobs over the month. Several sectors of Oregon's economy had large job losses over the month, though. Professional and business services lost 1,700 jobs. The leisure and hospitality sector, which is Oregon's restaurants and entertainment places, they lost 1,600 jobs. We saw a decline in other services of 1,400 jobs. That includes things like auto repair shops, hair salons, among many others. We also saw a drop of 1,200 jobs in January in the transportation, warehousing, and utilities industry. Job growth in Oregon also slowed over the past year. Non-farm payrolls had 4,900 fewer jobs this January than 1 year before. That's a decline of 0.2% over the year. The largest losses since January 2023 were in professional and business services, manufacturing, and retail trade. As with January, private healthcare and social assistance was also the sector with a big gain over the past year. It added more than 13,000 jobs for a gain of nearly 5%. Oregon's unemployment rate was 4.1% in January, which was slightly higher than the US rate of 3.7%. Now, the size of Oregon's labor force has actually grown slightly in recent months. Total employment levels have been pretty stable, and at the same time, the number of unemployed Oregonians has risen slightly. The result is that Oregon's unemployment rate drifted up a bit from a record low of 3.4% last spring to 4.1% in January. Still, at 4.1%, that's a low unemployment rate by historical standards in Oregon. Last week, the Employment Department also released our latest job vacancy survey data. And at any given time in 2023, Oregon's private employers had nearly 73,000 job vacancies. And in the fourth quarter alone, from October to December, there were about 65,000 job openings in Oregon. So in Oregon, like the US, we're seeing job openings come down from those record levels in 2022, but remain above pre-pandemic norms. That means there's still strong hiring demand, employers looking for workers to fill many jobs. In Oregon, the largest number of those job openings is in private healthcare and social assistance. In the last quarter of 2023, close to 1/3 of all job openings was in this sector alone. And that's not a new trend. In nearly every quarter since we started collecting data in 2013, healthcare and social assistance has posted the most job openings of any sector in Oregon's economy. The top occupations in healthcare by total job openings include personal care aides, mental health counselors, and registered nurses. It's not all just about healthcare in the fourth quarter, though, or throughout 2023. Just in the last quarter, employers were hiring for jobs in more than 200 different occupations. The other top occupations by total job openings included retail sales, heavy truck drivers, carpenters, construction laborers, and electricians. So while net job gains have slowed in Oregon, we're still seeing employers looking to hire workers across the board in all sectors of Oregon's economy. And with that, I will pass it to Unemployment Insurance Division Director Lindsay Leahy for more comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gail. I wanted to start out today by saying how much we appreciate everyone for their patience during our transition to Francis Online. Thanks goes to our customers, both claimants and employers, our partners, and to the media for helping inform the public leading up to this transition. We launched unemployment insurance benefits in Francis Online just 2 days ago on Monday morning. The rollout of the new technology has been relatively smooth, and it's working. It will be a few weeks before we have full pictures of how the system is working, but we wanted to share a few preliminary data points from Monday and Tuesday of this week just to show how it's going so far. More than 23,000 weekly claims have been successfully received for existing customers. We have paid more than $8.1 million in unemployment insurance benefits through Francis. The average time for customers filing weekly claims on a desktop was just under 11 minutes, and on mobile devices, it was even lower at less than 9 minutes. Please keep in mind that this only reflects 2 days of data, and we can't necessarily compare data points from the new system with data points from the old legacy systems. We are working to validate more data and will update the Employment Department dashboard next week. Migration of claim data from our legacy systems to Francis Online went according to plan, which was an important part of the transition. It will help ensure claimants can receive benefits through the new system. Workshare and other special unemployment insurance programs are also now fully integrated into Francis Online. The mobile functionality of Francis Online is also working. Now people can easily apply for unemployment insurance benefits on a mobile device, which should make our systems much more accessible. One of the strengths of the new system is that we can quickly adjust to make improvements. One example is that the authentication emails were being delivered more slowly than we originally anticipated on day one. We were able to fix that issue within 10 minutes of discovering it. As with any big technology project like this, we anticipate a few bumps in the road. It's a new system that both the Employment Department employees and the unemployment insurance claimants are getting used to. We have been closely monitoring the system, and we are addressing a few areas right now that appear to be slowing some customers down. One of those areas is that some customers with active claims have been unable to complete the account creation process in Francis Online. If this happens, the fastest option for customers is to restart the account creation process. When they do, the key step is to verify their identity using information from their existing claim. We have updated the language on Francis Online screens to help clarify this step to complete the process. A couple of important reminders. Current claimants who want to use Francis Online need to take 2 specific actions this week to claim benefits using the new system. First, create a Francis Online account at francis.oregon.gov. If they have an active claim or applied for benefits in the old legacy systems, their information will appear in Francis Online. If they have an account in Francis Online because they claimed benefits from Paid Leave Oregon, they do not need to set up a new account. Second, customers can then use Francis Online to file their weekly claim for last week and for the week before if they haven't already. This is a new system where things look a little different, so it's important for claimants to review information and instructions carefully and to review the responses on confirmation screens before clicking the Submit button. If they catch any mistakes, they can use the previous button to go back and correct them. Current claimants should check their U.S. mail and email daily and respond quickly to requests for information. For claimants who have created an account in Francis Online, they should also check their account regularly and check their email spam filters to make sure emails are getting through. I want to remind customers that we still will be sending some information by U.S. mail, even if they choose to get email alerts. Letters and emails may have due dates for responding. If claimants miss those due dates, their benefits may be delayed or denied. We continue to be vigilant about fraudulent claims. I want to remind Oregonians of a couple of things. Francis Online is free to use. Employment Department staff will never charge you for using Francis Online. For filing a claim, resolving your claim issues, filing your appeal, or to get your benefits faster. If you get a suspicious piece of mail, receive a strange call or text, or see a questionable website or link, please report it to us using our fraud form at unemployment.oregon.gov. Unemployment insurance fraud is a national issue, and combating fraud is a priority of our agency. Some people steal or purchase identity information and then use that information to file claims for unemployment insurance benefits. When that happens, it can delay benefits for the real person while we complete our investigation. You can find more information about steps to help protect yourself from fraud, scams, and identity theft, and what to do if you suspect that you are a victim of identity theft on our website at unemployment.oregon.gov. As expected, there was a high volume of customer service requests coming in. Knowing there would be a learning curve and an additional need for customer support, we brought on 40 additional unemployment insurance staff since the beginning of the year to help customers use Francis Online. That said, we expect that wait times for customer service will continue to be high over the next few weeks. There is a lot of helpful information on unemployment.oregon.gov, including a series of how-to videos and how-to guides on navigating Francis Online in English and in Spanish. A few other tips. Customers can use either a desktop computer or mobile device to file their weekly or initial claim. Using a phone or tablet may be easier for those who aren't used to using a desktop computer. Customers have the option to file their weekly claim using the automated weekly claim line, which is especially helpful for those who haven't set up their Francis Online account yet. That number is 1-800-982-8920. Double-checking answers in Francis is important. Answers that do not accurately reflect your eligibility for the week you are filing a weekly claim for can cause unnecessary delays. Customer service in Spanish and English is available at Francis Online via secure messaging, live chat, chatbot, and our Contact Us form. Our website at unemployment.oregon.gov has general unemployment insurance program information in 12 languages. Customers can also request free assistance in other language by calling our Unemployment Insurance Contact Center. In closing, we are keeping our commitment to improving the online customer service experience for Oregonians. We know our work is not done. We continue to ask for patience as both employees and claimants learn how to use the new system. We will continue fine-tuning Francis Online over the coming weeks and months, but the launch of our new system is a big step forward for Oregon. The last thing I want to share is my deep gratitude for the hundreds of people, but especially the employees of the Unemployment Insurance, Modernization, and Information Technology divisions, who have worked tirelessly over the past few years to make the customer service experience better for the public we serve. Your steadfast commitment and the passion for the work that we do is admirable, and we very much appreciate all your hard work. Going forward, Francis Online will make it easier for the Employment Department to support unemployment insurance customers and provide the higher level of customer service that Oregonians deserve. I'll now turn it back over to Rebecca Gibson King for the Q&A portion of the media briefing.
Thanks, Lindsay. Okay, we're now opening the lines to members of the media to ask questions. Just as a reminder, if you're joining us by phone, please make sure to hit *6 to unmute yourself first. As a courtesy, please limit yourself to one question and one follow-up question. I'll open it up to additional questions if there's time at the end. And as always, if you don't get your question answered today, please email us at communications@employ.oregon.gov. So I'm going to go over to my participant panel and see who has their hands up. First up is Christina Giardinelli with K2. Let me unmute you. Go ahead, Christina.
Thanks. Yeah, you mentioned 23 claimants, I believe 23,000 claimants. What percentage of all claimants is that?
Thank you for the question. So it was 23,000 weekly claims. And so we are still going through the process of validating all of our data that transferred, and that's within the system, and creating those reports. And so we'll have more information next week. But what I have today is those 3 data points that I shared earlier.
So you have no idea how many thousands of people are still waiting to access their account in the system, in the new system.
So the information is in the system, and we are definitely, we're watching the system, we're waiting, we're listening to the public about information that they're providing about any barriers that they're having or difficulties in navigating the system. We have lots of information on our website and how-to guides to help people navigate through that system. But the data points still need validation just before we can share them publicly to make sure that, you know, everything to make sure that everything is valid. When you have data in an old system and a new system, you just want to make sure that we're talking about the same things and sharing the same data points.
So you keep saying everything's running smoothly, and I know you're just reading off of a script here, but there are dozens of people standing outside of the workforce, the work service offices, waiting for answers on this because they can't reach your phone, and every time they call, it goes straight to busy. How are you telling them that this is smooth?
So generally for most claimants, this transition for a large technology project, this is moving smoothly. I would say that I understand their frustration, and we do want to make sure that we are continually improving the system in the coming weeks. We're only on day 3 and we're still listening and learning new things. And so we want to make sure to use those customer service tips. So going online, looking at the information, double checking all the information that they're entering into the new system to make sure it's accurate. Going back, if they had difficulty creating that initial account, go back and restart that process again. We've added clarifying language that will hopefully help people get through that process. We also know that on a large scale technology project, this is going to help, you know, Oregonians in the long run, and it's going to help most of them, but there's still going to be people that are going to have difficulty using the system. And we want to make sure that we know about those folks, we know what their difficulties are, and we can help them through the process.
Okay, next up is Ariel Salk. Go ahead, Ariel.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Thank you for doing this. Quick question. I have spoke to a person who is one of those weekly claimants, and she says she's waiting for, you know, a number or a code to log into her profile now that's on Francis, and she has not received that. Are you now saying that she should make a whole new account? And if so, does that mean she has to start the process all over again?
Thank you for that question. The fastest way to resolve that issue is to go back on Francis Online and restart that account creation process. If she's waiting for a code to come in the mail, she can still do that. She can also use our weekly claim line to go ahead and claim for this week while she's waiting for the account to get set up, and then can use Francis, you know, for future weeks.
Okay, so she can, the weekly claim line, is that a phone line or is that the old website? What's?
Oh, sorry, it's the automated weekly claim line that we've had. And the number is 1-800-982-8920. So it's fully integrated within Francis, but you can just use that. It's just a phone call and enter the information for your weekly claim in there, and then that transfers to Francis and then pays out. But and then while they're waiting for that code or getting through the process of restarting the account creation process.
So would you suggest people do that and still wait for their code, hopefully comes next week or another week? Or do you think if they haven't gotten their code yet now, then they should just make a whole new account on their own?
So it's just restarting the account creation process for those that are looking for that verification code. So they ask for something to be sent to them via, you know, email. If they haven't gotten that, definitely go back. And if they're waiting for a letter in the mail, they can continue to wait for that and file via the weekly claim, or they can do the account recreation process. It's up to them what they prefer to do.
Okay, and I'm sorry, the latter option, does that mean restarting the entire process, or is that, can you explain that, what that means?
You know, I want to make sure that I get the information. So it's not like starting all over, but you go back in and basically try to recreate your account. And I believe we might have, we have how-to guides on how to create an account online, but we can follow up with you in writing so you can have more specific information about the steps that they need to take.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yep.
And if I could, I think one of the key things here is that there are so many different people that we know rely on us that are in different circumstances. So there's a wide variety of circumstances that people are in. We provided some really good how-to materials, and we hope that people will look at those because it answers a lot of the questions. And if people do encounter challenges, we want to know those so that we can address them. We know from what we're seeing that for most people, the system is working well. We've already made some adjustments, and we know that we'll be watching closely to see what we can improve, what we can make further modifications to make it easier for others. And we are feeling very confident that this system, after we get through this initial period where really everybody that's using the system is getting used to a brand new system all at the same time, once that's over, we know that this will be much more intuitive, much easier for people to use. And that means that our employees will have a lot more time to help people who have more difficult situations or need more assistance getting through the process.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Mike Rogaway with the Oregonian. Go ahead, Mike.
Hi, Lindsay, a couple questions. You know, I think we're trying to get a barometer on what that 23,000 claims means. Do you have any sense? Did you have an estimate of what you expected? You know, given that you had some backlog from last week plus the new claims this week, is that roughly on par with what you expected?
Thanks for the question, Mike. So looking at, claim volume and things, it is where we would think that we would be when you're looking at a weekly claim, you're looking at weekly data, usually every week over week. We've only got 2 days worth of data there. So we'll see, more people file throughout the week, and then we'll be looking at, those comparators. So it is relatively where we thought that we would be. Most people file at the beginning of the week, but then you also have the issue of people needing to create an account, and there's those folks that people have brought up that are having issues creating those accounts. So then they'll end up probably claiming towards the end of the week where they normally claimed at the beginning of the week.
Cool. What I was getting at there was, there's not like a big hole, like you weren't expecting 27,000, indicating a huge number of people hanging out there.
Nothing like that. No, there's not like a giant gap where we're like, where are the claimants? So
right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then the second question is around call wait times and hold times. I mean, I realize you may not have a lot of data yet, but hold times were long coming into this. Would you say we're roughly at the same level that we were at before? Is it more jammed than it was? Is it less? Qualitatively, what would you say?
As expected, I mean, our wait times are definitely longer than we would like them to be in all of our customer service channels, including the unemployment insurance contact center. So I'd mentioned, we've been talking about there's that learning curve. So we hired those 40 additional staff that will help out customers who call into the contact center. And we anticipate hopefully onboarding like 10 to 20 more in the coming weeks. We encourage everyone to use those how-to videos and guides and the other information to get what they can through self-service at unemployment.oregon.gov. But calls are also, people are still calling and reaching out to us, and calls are taking a little bit longer than they normally would as employees and customers are getting used to using the new system. So we did have, customer service wasn't where we wanted it to be prior. And it's about probably where we would expect it to be given the launch of the new system and the couple of days that we were closed. And so we will continue to monitor that going forward. And hopefully, as everyone gets acclimated to the new system, those call durations will reduce, and we'll be able to reduce the wait that people have on the phone.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. Next up is Sydney Dorner. Go ahead, Sydney.
Hi. So you guys said it would take a few weeks to get some of these kinks worked out. What do you want people who can't get their benefits to do in the meanwhile? Do you have any resources how they can survive? A lot of people live paycheck to paycheck and really are depending on these claims.
And so it's those tips that I shared a little bit earlier. So it's going and going online, letting us know about any issues that they're having, because we know this can be frustrating. Make sure that they're checking their mail daily, they're checking their email, they are responding to requests for information, and helping. We want to improve the system, and we're continually adding things to our how-to guides, and also changing the language within the system. I want folks to remember that we do have that weekly claim line, so they can call and claim their benefits on the weekly claim line while they're waiting to get their account set up in Francis Online.
I talked to two guys today in total. One spent 18 hours on the phone over since Monday, and the other has spent 10 hours on the phone since Monday. What do you have to say about, them saying, well, we can't get through all on the phone either, and each time you try to create, it tells you to create a new account, it just kind of sends you on a loop, so you can't really create a new account because it's just this continuous loop. And then when you call to create a new account, you're on hold for a while.
So if you have information specifically for those individuals that you would be comfortable passing along to us, we'd love to look at what's going on with their claims. We have the ability to kind of look in the system and see what's going on where people are getting tripped up, so we can provide additional supports if that might be impacting other customers as well. We also have our live chat, our chat bot, and as I mentioned, the resources at unemployment.oregon.gov, where they might be able to get their questions answered. There could be a situation where, they're just accidentally entering information, like, when you enter your password and then it says it's not your password, and it's just because you mistyped a couple of numbers. Some of those issues and I don't know that that's what's happening with the folks that you're talking to, but that can be one of those things that happen. And so just to slow down and double check what you're entering, and making sure that it is correct. But we would like to hear more from those individuals so that we can kind of take a look and see what's going on.
Okay, I can, is it okay if I just put their names directly?
Yes, Sydney, this is Rebecca, the communications director. Go ahead and send those to communications@employ.oregon.gov, and we send those directly to a specialist in unemployment insurance to be able to address that. We just don't want to put anybody's information out there who haven't, accepted that their names will be out there publicly, because this is private information. So go ahead and send those directly to communications@employ.oregon.gov, and we will definitely follow up with those folks.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was sending it directly to you, Rebecca. And then my last question is, you guys hired 40 new people at the top of the year. One of the people I talked to said that they feel like that was just a drop in the bucket. Do you feel like that was enough? Are you planning on hiring more people, seeing that this rollout was a bit bumpy?
Hey, David, can you take this one?
Yeah, and I'll say, I think, as Director Leahy mentioned, we hired 40 additional people using one-time funding that we have to help specifically with the rollout. And we're not 3 days into the rollout yet for this weekly benefit program. We know that having 40 additional people helped, and it was 40 more people to provide assistance as they and everybody else is learning the new system. One of the big challenges for the unemployment insurance program, and it relates to some of the questions that you and others have asked about customer service levels, is really the chronic underfunding from the federal government to administer the program. For decades, the money that states receive to run unemployment insurance programs just hasn't been enough to provide the level of service that the public requires. So the reason that we're modernizing, one of the key reasons besides enhanced security, more flexibility, is to help us provide better customer service, more self-service options for the public. We're doing other things, including pursuing additional state level funding to fill in that gap. And we do have a bill that is moving through the legislature that we hope will pass that will allow us to have some additional staffing on a longer term basis. We really have hired as many additional staff as we could, given the funding that we receive. So we would love to have more people, and we hope to have some more people soon if that legislation goes through.
And I do want to mention, Sydney, there's also 211 resources for other people that are in those situations where they're struggling to find money for food or things like that. So we do want those other tips that I brought, but I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that there are other resources for people, and we encourage them to take advantage of that too.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks, Sydney. Up next is Peter Wong. Go ahead, Peter.
Well, the last question teed up that one of my questions beautifully, because this is for David. I believe I did see a bill going through Ways and Means and end up making its way through the process for a supplemental fund. I know you've said in the past that the federal government does not pony up enough money to keep state operations, not just Oregon, but other states running as well, given the current demands on employment agencies. So I presume that employers are aware that this is happening, since they're the ones, I believe, who contribute to this fund. And B, will it be enough? I don't know what adjustments you have to make in rates, but I assume it'll be enough for the agency to gear up staffing needs or reduce them as needed.
Those are great questions, Peter. And it is House Bill 4035 that is working its way through the legislature. And we really appreciate the strong bipartisan support that that bill has had. We've worked very closely with the employer community about this, and they understand the need. And I think that they understand that this is needed for us to provide customer service and to help protect the money in the trust fund from some of those complicated fraud schemes. And importantly, this doesn't actually directly increase the amount that employers pay. It allows a little bit of money. It kind of reallocates existing tax payments that they make. So it won't actually change the amount of the check or virtual check now that employers write for their unemployment insurance tax. So that's one of the reasons why I think the employer community has been understanding. And most employers, frankly, are very committed to us being able to help their employees when they are unemployed. We saw that during the pandemic. So it does have pretty strong support. In terms of whether it's enough, that's something that between the additional staffing and the efficiencies that we will see as everybody gets used to using Francis, we hope that it will be. And our commitment is to be transparent about that. And if it turns out that that we think we're still not able to provide the level of service to the public that we want to and that they expect and deserve, then we'll be transparent about that and with you, the media, and with legislators, and explain why that's the case.
Sectors that they have increased attention on. But
thank you, David. And my other question is for Gail. I know folks don't necessarily look at the crystal ball, but I think if I recall correctly, the creation of new jobs has either slowed or come to a stop in the second half of 2023. And obviously the numbers that you just released kind of confirm that. I know the gusher of federal and state money for various things, from infrastructure projects to semiconductors and energy efficiency and energy alternatives are starting to gush from Washington. Is there a possibility that there will be an uptick, even though, for example, I know on the infrastructure, the bridge work, the money's starting to come in, but you're not actually going to start building it for another year or so, 2 years. So the question is whether these have the potential to resume growth in jobs in Oregon.
Thank you, Peter. Just to kind of go back and confirm what you were saying before, we did see that Oregon, just in 2023, we did have a large job gain in January, and then monthly job gains and losses offset each other for the remainder of the year last year, which is how then with the small decline we saw in January that Oregon's payroll employment has declined just a little bit over the past year. So that's correct. Looking forward, the crystal ball into the future, one of the things that we do is work closely with and look to our friends over at the Office of Economic Analysis. Their March forecast shows that over, between the first quarter, this first 3 months of this year and the first quarter of next year, we are continuing to anticipate slow growth. That's actually about in line with what we saw over the past year, again, into the next year. So that's what their forecast says in terms of what to expect, in that we will see some job growth occurring. The things that we're talking about or that people are referencing related to the CHIPS Act and to the I-5 bridge, those things are a little bit further out, I think, in the prime point where they hit than that kind of year out where we are engaged with and where OEA is making that really active forecast right now.
Okay, thanks. I think that's what Mark and Josh are telling legislators, that don't expect a gusher of money to come to the state coffers in the next year or so because of these trends. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Peter. Next up is Brad Ford. Go ahead, Brad.
Lindsay, this is a question for you, and maybe this is the 23,000 number you talked about earlier, but how does the number of new account signups compare with the number of people who are currently receiving benefits?
So the 23,000, all of those folks is people that are, excuse me, the 23,000 is the filed weekly claims. We don't have data that's ready to release as far as like the account signups and things like that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, and then Christina, did you still have a question?
Yeah, David, I'm wondering, you're saying that most people are not having issues with this system, but when you guys are telling us that you don't actually know how many people are having issues, what are you basing that information on? And secondly, why did you guys decide to do this transition at the end of the month when a lot of people have bills due at the beginning of the month?
So when I say that we're seeing most people get through, when we look at the number of people who have already received benefits within just the first 2 days, where over $8 million in benefits was already paid out, we know that that's a significant number of people who are able to pretty seamlessly get their benefits. And I'm not minimizing that that's not everybody. And that's why, as Lindsay said, we're really focused on looking at the system, looking at the data, and hearing from people what the challenges are that they're experiencing, so we can continue to address those and make the system even easier for people to use. In terms of the timing, there frankly is no great time to do this, because anybody that is seeking benefits, we know is in a difficult situation and wants the benefits as quickly as they can get them. When we looked at what was safest in terms of transferring the data and having it be as smooth as possible an experience for everybody, this was the ideal time for us to do it, in terms of having it be a secure, stable transition and doing it as quickly as we can so that we can get this new system up and have that more user-friendly experience start to be out there for the public to use.
Can you say first with some certainty that that 23,000 claims filed this week so far is at least the majority of claimants?
So as Director Leahy said, we're being really cautious with sharing data because that accuracy is so important to us that we need to validate things. But again, I think if you just look at our past dashboards, we know that that's a significant number of people to have filed and a significant number of benefits to have gone out in just the first 2 days that the system was open and available to the public.
But if you can't say for certain that that's the majority, then how are you saying that most people it's gone smoothly for?
So as I said, when you look at the number of people that did already receive benefits and looking at what we know about normal filing trends, it looks like most people are able to get through, and we're really focused on making sure that everybody can easily access the system.
Okay. I don't see any other hands up, so I'm going to draw us in for a conclusion. As a reminder, this call was recorded and we will send the link out to reporters who RSVP'd as soon as possible. We will post it on the media page. We also post it on the media page at www.oregon.gov/employee under News and Agency Information. Thank you to everybody who participated today for your partnership to keep Oregonians informed. Have a great day, everybody.
You.
Thanks.
Everyone, bye-bye.